Hey y'all, today we're making more hamburger helper. So first up, we're going to make the beef pasta. And I don't know why in my brain I kept wanting to call this beefy pasta or beefy noodle, but here we are. These 3 recipes today, I got numerous requests to make. So I'm trying, y'all. I kind of make a list of things that y'all ask about, and then if I'm able to get to them, then I will. So I'm starting out with some minced onion. I did about a 1/4 cup of minced onion, and I'm adding in a teaspoon of garlic powder. And I just kind of played with these recipes until I got them where I wanted them. You know what tasted good to me. So I added in about a teaspoon of black pepper. If you're not a big black pepper fan, then you can definitely decrease the amount of pepper that you put in there. I'm also adding in a teaspoon of seasoning salt. That's the salt that we made together in another video. And then I'm also going to add in 3 tablespoons of my homemade onion soup mix, or 2 tablespoons, or you can add in 1 packet, okay? And now I'm going to add in some of my homemade brown gravy mix, 2 tablespoons, or 1 packet of brown gravy mix. Now we're going to add in about a tablespoon of beef bouillon. And you can use whatever kind of bouillon that you like. You can use whatever kind of onion soup mix. The onion soup mix and the brown gravy mix and the seasoned salt are all in, I'm pretty sure it was the last video that y'all saw with like 10 of my favorite seasoning mixes. All of those were in there, okay? So I just went ahead and mixed that up, and then I'm going to dump that into my jar. This is a 32-ounce jar, and the printable recipes, all the things will, excuse me, I'm choking, will be down in the description box for y'all as usual. So you can just pop down there and reference them, print them out if you need to, whatever, okay? So now we're going to add some egg noodles. I'm using medium egg noodles. We're going to do about 3 cups. Now I measured out 3 cups, and then I thought, well, I could fit a few more in my jar, so I just put a few more in there. But if you're a stickler for measuring things, then 3 cups of the medium-sized egg noodles is what I'm adding in here, okay? And yes, you can dump your seasoning right over the top of your noodles. You can put it in here however order you want to put it in here. But y'all know I have to take pictures so that y'all will see what I'm doing. So, you know, I try to make them look presentable when I put them together. So that is it. That's all there is to the beef pasta hamburger helper. Okay, so now y'all know, you already know, I'm going to cook it for you, right? We're going to cook all these recipes up for y'all so y'all can see what they look like. And some of these I had a hard time with because they don't make them anymore. And so trying to figure out what to put in here was a bit of a challenge, but I think I got pretty close. So hopefully y'all will enjoy these. So when you're ready to cook this, you're going to brown 1 pound of ground beef in whatever kind of pot or pan you have that has a lid on it. I like to use a pot when I do stuff like this because it keeps like the liquid from boiling over if you use a skillet, you know. So once I browned my meat, I drained the grease off of it, and now we're going to add in here 5 cups of beef broth. I'm using low sodium beef broth because a lot of the things I added to the seasoning mix do have salt in them. So I wanted to make sure that I went with a low sodium beef broth so we wouldn't end up with it too salty, okay? So 5 cups of your beef broth. And then you're going to add in the contents of your jar. You're just going to dump the whole jar over in there. And then you're going to stir it up real good. Make sure that you get your seasoning stirred in real good. And look, if y'all don't like this amount of onion, like all the onion flakes that I put in there, you can lessen that. You can definitely adjust these seasonings to whatever your taste is. This is just how I made it. Trying to get us close, you know, to a copycat recipe. You know, maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but it sure did taste good. So once you get it all mixed up, you're going to bring it to a boil. Then we're going to cut it down to a simmer, and we're going to let it simmer covered for about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, okay? Once my 15, 20 minutes was up, what I normally do, since there's a little bit of liquid still left in there, is I put the lid back on it and I remove it from the heat and I just let it stand for about 10 minutes until it soaks the rest of that liquid up. Next up, we're doing rice Oriental. I got tons and tons of y'all asking me about this. I actually had somebody ask me very, very recently again for this one, so here it is. So what you're going to need for your seasonings is 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. Then you're going to add in I added in about a teaspoon of pepper. It is very peppery if you add a whole teaspoon, so I would say if you're not a huge pepper fan, back off on that just a little bit. Then you're going to add in 1 package of onion soup mix. I'm using my homemade onion soup mix, so I'm going to add in just about 3 tablespoons. I just added in what was left in my little container. Then we're going to add in a little less than a teaspoon of salt because I know what ingredients are already in my onion soup mix, and usually the store-bought also is kind of salty, so just kind of go easy on the salt or leave it out if you don't want to use it. Now, some people added in, recipes that I saw when I was trying to come up with what I wanted to do. I saw some people that added like ginger and stuff in here. I chose not to do that. I try very hard when I'm doing these recipes, especially if it's like a copycat type of recipe, to kind of stay close to what they make it with, but I do tweak it a little bit. And this particular flavor of rice-a-roni was discontinued back in 2007. So I had a very hard time trying to figure out what ingredients to put in here. So this is just what I came up with. So if you cook this and you feel like it doesn't taste as much like the original as you would like it to, then feel free to tweak it even more. And I started to put it in a big jar, but then I realized I really didn't need a big jar. So what you're going to add to your jar, and y'all saw I put my seasonings in a baggie, that way we can wash our rice. I know, you're welcome, you're welcome. So you're going to add to your, a jar? You're going to add 1 1/4 cups of long grain white rice. That's the kind of rice I'm using. Use whatever kind you want, but it's not the instant rice, okay? And it's not parboiled. It's regular old plain long grain white rice. So that is what I added to my jar, and then you're just gonna stick your little baggie of seasonings right over in there, and that is it. That's all there is to that part of the rice Oriental. Now we're gonna add some other things when we cook it, but that is it in the jar, okay? So now to cook this, y'all know we're going to cook it. To cook it, again, you're going to add a few things. All of this, by the way, again, is in the printable recipe links for y'all. All the ingredients that go in the jar and how you need to cook it, okay? So to cook this one, you're going to brown 1 pound of ground beef. I had a little less, but I had bought like a big medium-sized pack of hamburger meat, and I split it up over all 3 of these recipes. So it's probably a little less than a pound in the video, but about a pound of meat or more if you like more. Ground beef, brown it up, drain the grease off, okay? So when we get ready to cook this one, you're going to add 4 cups of plain old water, okay? 4 cups of plain old water. And then we're going to add in, we're going to take our little seasoning pack out so we can wash our rice, y'all, because y'all got real mad when we weren't able to wash the rice-a-roni. So I'm trying to do y'all better. So anyway, you're going to wash your rice, drop your packet down in your pan like I did. You're going to empty your seasoned mix out into your meat and your water, stir that up real good. And then once your rice is rinsed and drained, you're going to add your rice right there into your pot. And then we're going to stir that up good. And then you're going to, I almost forgot actually, the ingredient that makes it sort of the rice Oriental, right? I almost forgot. I know y'all are thinking, no, that's just some rice. Well, we're going to add something. Look, soy sauce, y'all. You're going to add in about 1/4 cup of low sodium soy sauce, okay? Add that right on in there. We're going to bring that to a boil. And then once it's boiling real good, we're going to reduce it to a simmer, and we're going to put the lid on it, and we're going to let that cook for about 20 to 25 minutes, okay? We want to make sure that the rice is nice and tender and all that liquid has been absorbed. So about 20-25 minutes is where you're going to need to be on that one. This stuff is so good, y'all. It is so good. The beef one is really good. All of these were real good, in my opinion. Like, they were real good. I don't remember Hamburger Helper tasting this good, but here we are. So I just let it sit to the side. Now, next up, cheesy hash brown. This one was a booger bear to try to figure out. So what I got was some of these Hungry Jack. You can get whatever brands you want, just the dehydrated, shredded hash browns. We're going to be making some of these ourselves coming up sometime this year when I get some time. We're going to do that ourselves. But for now, we're going to use the box stuff. So the closest I could find on this recipe was the weight of the hash browns. That's why you're seeing me weigh them out. You don't have to do this because I'm going to tell you how much it is. But I'm just showing you, this is how I figured out this recipe. I had to dig around on the internet until I found out what the weight of the cheese powder was and what the weight of the hash browns were to figure it out. So 5.5 ounces of hash browns is about 2 cups of these dried shredded hash browns, these little dehydrated hash browns. I'm trying to show y'all, but anyway, it's 2 cups. Just trust me on that. 2 cups of the hash browns go straight into your jar. Now, the seasonings, I could have just dumped right into the jar, and I don't know, I had the bowl out mixing other things too, so you know my brain works weird. So I added in about a half a teaspoon of salt, about a teaspoon of pepper, and then I'm going to add a teaspoon each of onion and garlic powder. This is another one where I would say if you're not a big pepper fan, back off on the pepper because it is peppery, but I like pepper. So, but you can definitely add less. I think I wrote in the recipe 1/2 to 1 teaspoon. So again, depending on your taste, if you're feeding a lot of little ones that are not used to spice, like seasonings and stuff, definitely back off on the pepper, but it's delicious in my opinion. So anyway, I'm just going to pour that right over top of our hash browns. You can pour them in the bottom, pour them in the top. Doesn't make any difference. Just get them in the jar, okay? So the next thing that we're going to need is the cheesy part of our cheesy hash browns. So what you're going to need is some cheddar cheese powder. This is something else we will be making ourselves in a video coming up at some point this year. I'm not going to tell y'all a time frame because I don't want to be held to that and then me not get, you know, and y'all be disappointed because I can't get it done then. But I will be doing this. So I'm just measuring out, I'm weighing out. I'm weighing out 20 grams of the cheese powder. So if you're somebody who likes to weigh stuff, that's why I'm giving you the amount I'm weighing out. But it's going to end up being about 1/4 cup of this cheddar cheese powder. This is a 1/3 cup measuring cup that you see me using. That's why it's not full all the way. So once you get your 1/4 cup of cheese powder, you're going to pour that right into a little tiny Ziploc bag. These are just like the little snack bags, the Walmart brand. That's the size bags I usually use for stuff like this. So anyway, you're just going to seal that up and you're going to pop that right into your jar, and then it goes on your shelf until you are ready to cook it. Super simple. This one is a little bit more involved to cook though. I mean, a little bit more. It's not hard, but it's just a little bit more than just dumping it in a pot and then putting the lid on it, you know. So, but of course y'all are going to see it. I'm going to show you exactly what we do. So that is our cheesy hash brown hamburger helper in a jar. So now take a good look at that. You see how my seasonings are kind of falling down in there? See them down in there? So again, you can put them on the top, put them on the bottom. It doesn't make any difference as long as they get in the jar and they're ready to go for you, okay? All right, to cook this, we're going to use the last little pound or little under a pound of ground beef that we had. We're going to do the same thing we did with the other ones, like you would do with any box of hamburger helper. You're going to You're going to brown your meat, and you're going to then drain any grease off of it if you have, you know, sort of a fattier cut of meat. If it's super lean and you don't need to drain it, then don't worry about it. But if you have any grease in there, just drain that off because you don't want that in your dish when you get it cooked. So once you get your meat browned, you're going to throw in 2 tablespoons of butter, and then you're going to add to that Look, I'm trying to look at my list, y'all. I scribble scratched all over it and I can't read my own handwriting. So then you're going to add in, how much did we add? 2 cups of water. And then you're going to just let that cook around until your butter melts. You want your butter to get good and melted. We're going to add in, put your cheese packet to the side. We're going to do something with that in a minute. And you're going to add in the contents of your jar, your hash browns and the seasonings that were in there. Stir that up real good. And like I said, you're just going to let this boil. I know some of y'all hate the way I say that. You're going to let this boil until your butter is melted, okay? Then once your butter melts, you're going to press this down as good as you can. Now it's going to be kind of hard to do because you see all the liquid that's in there, obviously, but press it down as good as you can because we're going to want the bottom of this to brown, right? So press it down as good as you can, and then you are going to turn the heat down to medium. You're going to cover this up and you're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. Do not touch it. Don't take the lid off. Don't stir it. Nothing like that. While that's cooking, you're going to take 2/3 of a cup of milk and that cheese powder, and you're going to mix those together so it can start to kind of thicken up a little bit. It doesn't thicken up a whole lot. After 10 minutes, take the lid off of your hash browns. Press them down again. You see all my liquid has pretty much been absorbed there, but we want the bottom to brown like I said. So you're going to take the lid off and you're going to let this cook for about another 3 to 4 minutes. You can check it, and this is one I probably should have done in a skillet because I have a hard time doing the next step because my pot is tall. So I had a hard time kind of getting under the edge of it. But what I'm doing is trying to very carefully get under the edge to see if it's browned or not, because I don't want to flip this until I know it's browned underneath. So that's what you see me doing while I'm looking like I'm struggling over there. I was just looking. I was just taking a peek. And they were browned. So now you're going to take little bits at a time, like little sections at a time. And you're going to flip those over. And Lord, y'all just... I made a mess of it. Like I said, I should have had a skillet and not this big pot. But I did the best I could. But you can see where it's nice and browned. So then you're going to cut the heat back up to high. And you're going to let the other side of it brown for about 3 minutes. After that time, pull it off the heat and pour your cheese sauce right over the top. And then I just let mine sit. You can put the lid back on it or whatever. But just sit and let that cheese kind of soak into the hash browns. Y'all, this stuff was so good. It's so good. And again, I don't know if it was exactly what the actual boxed version exactly tastes like or whatever, because I don't know that I ever ate the cheesy hash brown one, but this is delicious. So those of y'all who asked for this, cook this and let me know if it's close to the actual boxed recipe, because according to all the things I found, it should be. Because this was all, I mean, I weighed everything out, right? So anyway, that was our cheesy hash brown. That is our beef pasta that somebody requested. And this is the rice Oriental that several of y'all requested. So I hope that y'all enjoy these. That is all I have for y'all today. And I will catch y'all on the next one. Bye, y'all.